Quick intro before you watch this video. You're about to watch the first episode of Success Unlimited, a new series where I talk to people who have already made it in the agency space and personal branding, self-development, a lot of different things in between. Interview them, just a chill, casual talk. It's all unfiltered and just getting a lot of value and breaking down what's worked for them so you can do the exact same. So today, on the first episode, again, nice and chill, we're meeting up with Max Sweeney. He's a web design agency owner from Brisbane, doing $20,000 to $30,000 per month. So he really dropped a lot of gems in this video. It is a little bit longer than I expected and in-depth, but it is 100% worth it if you stay to the end. But I'm looking for a lot of feedback, so let me know what you guys think in the comments and enjoy. Hello everyone, it's Cameron. I'm here with Max Sweeney and today we're going to go through a very valuable video, a little bit of an interview conversation. There's a lot of people who have been messaging both of us asking questions about the agency space, web design space, getting clients, scaling your brand, scaling your agency, getting into personal branding and content. So we're just going to have a really in-depth and just chill chat today and hopefully dive into a lot of things that could possibly help you guys out. So how we going, Mac?
Yeah, good, thanks, Cameron. So like Cameron said in this video, we sort of wanted to go over like how people are getting leads, how to grow an agency, how to grow your personal brand, how to basically get started in the agency space. It seems like everyone has this issue of sort of getting over the barrier of entry. So we sort of wanted to like just have a normal everyday conversation because we've both done it like ourselves. We've seen other people do it, so we sort of know how to do it. So we just feel like this conversation would provide a lot of value for a lot of people.
Absolutely. So for a few people who are watching, Mac, exactly, so you run an agency, it's more of a web design agency, but what do you specialize in and what have you been doing recently?
Yeah, so my agency isn't like your typical web design. I actually do a lot of landing pages and CRO or conversion rate optimization catered towards D2C brands. So basically anything you can buy online and it has a website, that's what I do. So it's not like your traditional web design agency where you're sort of building websites for maybe small business owners that don't have a website or have a really shitty website. I sort of go into already existing like big businesses, usually doing over, millions of dollars a year, and basically get more people to buy more stuff off their website. And that's where that sort of money is made there. So again, it's not very traditional. Not many people do this, but just with sort of like my weird experience, it sort of makes sense for me. And like everyone else, like you'll have some sort of experience in some sort of industry and you want to build your agency around that as much as possible.
Yeah. No, that's really smart because I'm kind of like the opposite. Again, I'm still trying to build. I know you're definitely ahead of me in the agency space. That has been my thing to begin with, working with small business owners. And I guess in a way, because I wouldn't say I'm like fully experienced in the agency or web design, not an expert, you don't really need to still make great money because I have a really quick turnaround with my sites I've been doing. I can get them done within anywhere from, a few days to a few weeks, depending. So I've been able to go through a lot, especially building up kind of my brand and getting appointment setters that way, which I can also talk about. But it's really good, man. So you work with these really high value clients who have the budget to spend and you have the experience to deliver on that. How do you kind of get in contact with these people? Do you find them? Do they find you? Or how do you move forward with that?
Yeah, so that's really tricky. Generally, like with I guess easier niches or niches with a lot more cash on hand, a lot more capital, like know what they're doing a lot more. Obviously, like everyone's trying to get there, right? So you've got to really differentiate yourself. So my experience and my background was in marketing agencies and contracting for like big names, like Simon Beard's one of them. That's the founder of Culture Kings, which
huge,
everyone in Australia knows. Best mates with the owner of Liveco, one of the biggest hat brands in Australia as well. They make the hats for like Adrian Portelli wears one, Troy Candy wears one, like big names again. Yeah. And so for me to get more, work was how do I deliver as much value to these people as possible? Like just got my foot in the door with like literally Simon Beard was one, and then leverage that to other brands as well. Like, hey, I did this really great work for Simon. I did this really great work for XYZ. And this is what I can do for you as well. Because those other brand owners know those names, it's like very easy then to get yourself in the door. So
yeah, for sure. Stems up from there.
It's not very like traditional in the sense of like I'm just cold calling random people. Like you can't really do that in this industry. Like it's every man and their dog is trying to get a hand of these people. So for me, a lot of it's like referrals. Like asking for referrals, even putting referrals inside of the contracts you do, so that it just sort of snowballs. Which is, I guess, not many people do that. I think one of the things people get stuck on, or at least I see both in your community and other communities, is like, how do I get my first client? How do I get my foot in the door? So for me, like, I made this mistake, I remember, so many times. And just to give you some context as well, my agency is relatively new. I only started doing this full time in August of 2024, as of this recording, at the very start of Feb. So it's what, 6 months, 5 months, something like that.
Yeah.
I guess getting your first client is learning. You need to know as much as physically possible. Like, you need to know the industry well, so that you can work in other marketing agencies to learn. You can do a course to learn. You can, like, literally just get first-hand experience to learn, do work for free to learn, like, etc. There's so many ways you can do it. As soon as you get to the point where you feel like you personally would buy the product, you personally would use the service, that's when you start cold calling. To get your first client, like, I remember, what did I do? I think I made like a landing page for free, and it was a total pain in the ass to do. It looked like shit. Like, it was just the worst. And I'm sure everyone has started something like that. Like,
for sure. 100%.
And then I remember I got my first paying client. Paying client. They didn't even pay for the website. They were just paying for the hosting. I was hosting a website on Cloudflare at the time, which is like free. So I was making like $40 Australian, $45 Australian in like every month.
Big
I was
moves.
like, this is insane.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so
that was kind of like your first taste of online income, you mean, or first taste aside from like working for an agency, or
first kind of income that was like just mine. Like, I've had partnerships before. Like, to give you some background, I used to be a software engineer making like SaaS companies, and we made a little bit of money from that, but nothing like crazy. And this was like the first time where it was just me doing the work, and I made $45 a month or something like that. And it was crazy. And then you step it up from there. You go, okay, I'll charge, a couple $100, and then you go up from there, charge, almost $1,000, and you just essentially keep going until you're like super confident in your services. I feel like that's the main thing. And you've like learnt from all the mistakes you've done, because at the start you make so many mistakes. Everyone does.
100%. That happens. You have to go through that.
Yeah, there'll be like every single project you do, you'll be learning like 2 or 3 like massive things, and you just got to like adapt to it every single project you do. So I guess to get new clients, it's like you need to show them work that you've already done in the exact same industry or the exact same niche, so that they sort of trust you. And to get that work, you'd be doing it for free. Like, that's the answer. No one wants to hear it, but you're going to be doing free work. You're going to be slaving away for a couple of months.
100%.
And that's just the nature of it.
That's it. Same thing with me. Like, it relates to all things of business, not just web design or running an agency. Like, a lot of my kind of background thing, which it all kind of ties together with web design, doing landing pages, funnels, but working with a few large creators in the space. There's a few different terms like influencer agency or growth operating. At the end of the day, it's just working with a few high value creators in any niche. So for mine, it's more in the fitness industry, and then kind of leverage their following to help them put in systems, so help them with their websites, with their funnels, with their content, for them to make more money, and you either then get paid for that or on a commission basis. So in my case, it was a commission basis, and for months and months and months, that's it. You're just slaving away. And to get like in contact with these creators, I guess I also just got my foot in the door. Like, you kind of have to fake it till you make it in a little while in sales calls. But don't pitch, hey, I can take care of everything. Just start off with, hey, I can do your website, I can take care of this. And then now, over time, I've just kind of managed to swivel my way into the business, and then really be their right-hand man and business partner. But still, to this day, at the start, it just feels like, oh, it's not worth it. What am I doing? But you just got to keep going. You just got to keep your head down working, because in the end, when that commission comes in, or when that referral comes in from them, from your work, that can just be it. That can just stem off to so many opportunities, and it just changes everything for you. So yeah, doing a bunch of free work in exchange of testimonials, and potentially in exchange for referrals. So, but you definitely recommend kind of in web design and agencies really niching down, rather than doing all service?
I would say yes, I recommend it, but like technically what I do isn't really that niche. Like, the actual services niche, what the industry I do it in is like e-commerce or D2C.
Yeah, gotcha.
It's like, that's not a niche service. So you need to, I guess, specialize in something and do one thing really well. And regardless of what people say, you can't be extraordinarily good at multiple things. Like,
that's completely right. Yeah,
like, you can't be a jack of all trades most of the time. So I would highly recommend just like niching into one thing. So whether it's like making, I don't know, landing pages for like one page websites for businesses that are just starting out, that's like dirt cheap, that you can pump out like 10 a week, like from a template or whatever, and just make the barrier of entry really low. Or it's like you just work in, I don't know, like medical, like the medical industry, or you just work in the finance industry, or whatever it is. You get really good and really understand like what problem that person has, because chances are all those people have a similar problem, whether it's not getting enough leads or the leads aren't qualified or whatever it is. And then you work out, okay, what am I good at? How can that apply to this guy's problem? And then that gap is what your service is essentially.
Yeah.
So,
100%.
yeah, I mean, like, honestly, you got to niche down at the start. Like, you got to just take your experience, and people might not like it. Like, for example, if you worked in, I don't know, as a receptionist at a doctor, chances are, like, you probably know how the leads come in. You probably know quite a bit about the industry, a lot more than you'd think. And like, you really like step back and go, okay, how are these people coming in? Is foot traffic? Is it booking appointments? Like, how does their system work? And then that's when you go and you can ask questions, because you're an employee there. You're allowed to ask questions and really work out how the business operates. And then you can sort of work out what the problems are, build your business on the back of that. And like I said, you're going to have literally hundreds of other medical systems or medical practitioners around Australia or your country or wherever you live with the exact same problem.
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of your work then, once you get these clients, and a lot of the time you're doing, pretty good high ticket projects, is that on an ongoing basis or over a period of a few months, multiple payments? How usually is your kind of payment and delivery system structured with these clients?
Yeah, so initially, like for me, I was offering just websites, like new e-commerce websites. And then after like months of doing that, and I could close a few, but it was like really tricky, particularly for the pricing point. Like for me, the amount of work you have to put in e-commerce websites is, I guess, a lot more than, traditional lead gen websites. So I was putting in like literally hundreds of hours in these things and be charging like anywhere from 8 to 14 grand, even more in some cases, for a single website. And it was only up until recently I had a really good conversation with a big guy in the agency space called Matthew Larson, if you guys ever heard of him. I had a conversation with him and he's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're a fucking idiot. Like, that was literally his exact words. Like, why would a brand or a person that has never met you, never even talked to you, why would they trust you and give you like $14,000 like off the rip? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I sort of like restructured that actually in December. I started doing that in December, where instead of doing a full website, I was just offering a single landing page and basically like proving myself and just trying to get to that to the cheapest price point. So I do landing pages now like as a first time offer for like $3,000 or 3 for $6,000.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
So
really good.
It's a total difference. But what that does is gets your foot in the door. When if you're really good at what you do, like it will work like 90+% of the time. And you can give those statistics, or at least I can give that data back to the business owner, then bang, they like working with you. What you do is like very effective. They make money off you. And then that's when they go, oh, let's do the rest of the website. This is great. Or let's do SEO PPC. Can you help us with the ads or whatever it is, right? It just gets your foot in the door. Like you said, stems off.
Exactly.
And you go.
Oh, you keep going. I was going to say, I've also noticed then also on Sweeney Studios on your website, you're very results driven in terms of your offer to your clients. Like, we'll get you X amount of more conversions. We'll do this for you. If not, get your money back, taking that kind of risk away, building that trust, and then now also with content, getting yourself out there more, becoming more of a figure. So that's something I've really admired about how you kind of branded your offer. Yeah,
definitely. So if you look at like the actual business owner's like problem, like I'm going to talk about like my, I guess, clients specifically. It's like their problem is they're running a lot of paid traffic to a website, and they may not be getting the best conversion rate, may not be getting the best, what we call AOV, which is average order value, or whatever the metric is. So their return on the ads, like, isn't that good. They know heaps about ads, but as you know, like the web stuff is just a little bit higher barrier to entry. It's like a lot harder to do. It's not straightforward. And so my sort of solution to them was, okay, well, we can now optimize all of your ad spend, like this sort of leaky bucket you're putting all your ad spend in, we can sort of patch up the holes and, make a lot more efficient. So that was like the problem that I was solving, and as a result, I make a lot more money. But I guess that sort of problem solution type thing works for any industry, any niche, even if it's just like offering websites to people that don't have a website. There's a reason that they would want one. So it's like to look more legit, to get more leads, to have some sort of system. And for me, like with my marketing background, I know you should be marketing yourself off the benefit, not the solution. So
Exactly.
that means like, okay, well now you got all your leads in one place. You're a lot more like relaxed. You can see stuff. You look a lot more legitimate, rather than the solution, which might be a CRM or a website or a lead gen system or.
Completely agree. And that's been a big thing I've focused on with systems as well. So looking at a few different kind of angles and perspectives on how you can pitch this and why it's actually beneficial. I was actually someone made a good point in my community, I believe it was last night. From memory, they were kind of saying, look, how can I really say like this website's going to make you more money? How is it going to be valuable? And at first, I'm like, yeah, well, that is a good point. Like, where's the traffic from if they're not running ads or doing content? Which, a side note, is then also something you can kind of upscale and pitch on. But selling those systems and automation. So, for example, when I was working, did a little bit of work with different gyms. Not only is the website going to help them with getting more clients, getting found more, helping them get set up on Google Business if they're not already, with them with a fully optimized converting website, but putting in those booking systems, those email automations that can do booking confirmations, target marketing, managing their memberships and pricing plans, putting their merch and stock and everything on that website. But to go back to kind of systems, automating a lot of their processes, so they're not in exchange of this website package you're selling them, that may not be paying as much for staff members to do a certain role. Their own time takes a lot of time off their hands managing different, customer inquiries and different stuff. So yeah, really just value stacking and providing that kind of those systems that not only are they making more money in exchange from this website, getting more leads, tracking all those leads, but also buying a lot of that time off. And time is money to business owners.
Oh, for sure. Like when you're a small business owner, particularly like in the service space niche, it's like you have literally 1,000 things to do. Like,
you're in charge of everything,
yeah,
from service delivery to customer support, everything.
exactly. So if we can delegate like all the hard stuff, which is like getting more leads, getting more work, converting that work,
Yep.
to like giving customer information, where it's like the business owner shouldn't be doing that. If you look
No.
at any big business, like the owner never even like talks to the customer half the time.
No,
They've
it's
got
all
systems in
systemized.
place. Exactly.
Exactly.
So if we can like sort of give them a little like stepping stone to where they want to be, that's generally the first step, and that's how you sell it to small business owners. And
Yep.
honestly, like my industry is like almost the exact same, right? It's like the business owner like doesn't want to be going in and getting designing a Figma file themselves or like coding it in themselves. Like
Not at all.
they'll never touch that. Big businesses, like, they never touch that. And luckily for me, it's like very rare that you would hire like an engineer or a UI designer like in-house. So it's like generally people are looking for it. So that's sort of where I was able to get myself in. But
Yep.
yeah, all it is just solution and problems. Like, how well can you solve that problem for the business owner? And then that's obviously like how you monetize it. So, Cameron, I've seen a little bit of your story, but like, sort of, why did you make an online business? Like, why did you sort of get into web design? And then,
Yeah. So that's pretty funny. Like, I never originally was planning on getting into web design. I always wanted to get into business and online business. I knew I was, meant for more somehow. I just didn't know exactly what. So I left school early. I dropped out pretty early and I went to work a full-time job in a warehouse at a Bunnings Trade Center. If you're from Australia, you know what that is. And honestly, it was all right. We were cruising, but the whole point, I was working there for about a year, a little over a year. Was purely to save enough money so I could quit and venture out on something. And originally, I fell into the rabbit hole of trading and crypto and forex. And I'm like, oh hell yeah, I'm going to be a forex millionaire. We got this. I was working on demo accounts and actually making a little bit of money on real accounts as well. And then I'm like, oh, but all of the trading times when I'm working, if I can quit, I'm investing this, I can make money. At the end of the day, I knew I wanted to make money online. I'm like, look, I've got enough money saved up right now. I'm just going to get into it. Worst case scenario, if it doesn't work in a few months, I'm going to come back. But so I always kind of had that entrepreneurial itch and ambition to start some sort of business. I knew down the track also I'd want to get into content somehow because I knew the power behind that. But yeah, I quit my job fully and I went all in on the forex trading. Long story short, that shit did not work out at all. And I then came across kind of the whole growth operating and working with creators and stuff like that. And I thought, look, this kind of business opportunity is perfect. It's been around for ages, but that kind of tag has kind of became popular, around a year ago. So I thought, look, this is something I'm very skilled in. It's kind of like doing, because in a way, I am kind of like a jack in all trades in terms of like, understanding content, funnels, a little bit of, web design here and there for stuff I've done in the past, but nothing crazy. So I did outreach and I actually got pretty lucky being able to land a large creator with like, 250,000 followers on a few different platforms in the fitness industry. So now to this day, I'm business partners with her. But then how I got into web design and kind of starting my own agency was she runs her own gym. And before I like kind of took over everything and we worked on generating online income with her following, she's like, look, I got a few little leaky systems in my funnel and I need it fixed up. So I need my website rebranded. I want to fix this system. I'm happy to pay you to take care of this. And I'm like, look, awesome. I'll give it a go. This was just on Wix, her whole software. But I learned so much. I dove straight in. I fixed up all of her website. And then she actually referred me to one of her friends who was a massage therapist to do a website and whole system rebrand for her. And then I got paid $2,000 to do that. And I realized, look, aside from all this shit I'm doing, which is commission based, I have to build up and make money from this online product, whatever. I can make a lot of money just from doing simple, web design packages and systems that didn't even really take me that much time. So from there, that's when I launched Next Up Web Design. And I ventured out really just doing websites for business owners, from small to high end. At the start, I didn't really niche down. I was kind of taking anything I could. And my next kind of project I got just from doing outreach myself was $2,000. So it kind of then grew from there. I got more and more projects. I kept doing outreach myself, but I really, really did not like doing outreach at all. I hated it. It was taking up so much time and taking my time away from doing web design and actually managing and scaling the agency. So I thought, look, I need leverage. I have no leverage right now. If I'm spending X amount of hours each day to get this amount of projects, it's just not going to work long term, regardless of even if I do get a few referrals. So I always want to get into content. I knew eventually I would want to monetize kind of my audience and help others do the same thing as me. So I thought, look, this is going to be a great way. I'm going to start posting videos. I'm going to build my following. And right now, I don't really have that big of a brand. I've only got like 1.3K on YouTube. But what I was able to do is I was able to target my content and get appointment setters. So these appointment setters are going to work for me on a commission basis and take care of outreach. So I just have a kind of constant flow of leads coming in. And then I can then close those leads on the sales call. I can take care of all the web design and I can pay, it's 15% commission. I pay that commission to my appointment setters. So I knew this would be a good system because all I have to do is keep doing that same work with content. My following would grow and I'd have a lot of good then kind of quality appointment setters who are like an army who can do outreach for me. And then eventually I get someone to take care of that team. But that's kind of where I'm at now. So that's how I got into my agency. It wasn't really the plan. I just kind of got asked if I could do it. And I was in business. Like, oh yeah, of course I can do it. So I just locked in, learned all those skills, and it really just kind of went up from there.
Yeah.
So I know that was a little bit of a long answer as well.
No, it's good. It's funny. Like I had a very similar journey. So for me,
Yeah, go for it.
I also dropped out of school. I dropped out, I think, at the end of year 10. And then I was actually working in a me and my best mate at the time used to live in the back of a truck in like Byron Bay or
Oh, really?
Falls festivals and stuff like that. And at the time, like we used to just like serve drinks at a bar in like the festivals, which was like actually pretty good money. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, nice.
Like good vibes, but I just knew like this wasn't for me. Like this is not sustainable. So I funnily enough, I actually learned to program in the back of that truck. It took me about a couple of months. I was actually pretty good at maths and whatnot at school. So I was like, figured, programming's pretty fun. I just sit on my laptop and make sort of whatever I want. And so that's what I did. Yep. And at the time I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to make like this really cool app. I'm going to make this really cool, web app or whatever it is, right? And then become like a multimillionaire. And that was my thought at the time. And obviously looking back, I was like 16. I was just super like naive. That does not work for very many people.
Yeah.
But it gave me the experience with like trying to market myself, market my skills, market my idea to other people. And even though like I literally did not make any money doing that for so long. And then I eventually started making video game cheats, which was sort of like my first online business that actually like sort of worked. And I was selling like ridiculous amount. I think I made like 40 grand in 1 year just selling video
Wow.
game cheats. And as
Jeez,
a
that's crazy.
16-year-old dropout, I was making probably that an entire year working in a bar. I was like,
Crazy.
oh, this is insane money.
Huge
Um,
opportunity. Yeah.
yeah, but I don't know. I just sort of lost interest in that. Like building video game cheats. Like I don't know if anyone's actually looked at the industry, but it's extremely hard to like sustain yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, and it's not super ethical. So I was like, okay, this isn't for me. But what I did like at the time was the marketing aspect of it. I found that very interesting, like how to actually pitch yourself. And I just figured, like, I actually saw like an Alex Hormozy ad in sort of been like 2018 or 2019, and I was like, oh, this seems pretty cool. And so what I did was a few years later, I sort of, I guess, dropped the ball, moved to the city I used to live in this place called Sunshine Coast, which is like, way up the road. Went to the city. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, what am I going to do here? And I was like, okay, I want to learn about marketing. Do I go to uni? Do I do a course? What do I do? And eventually I was like, hang on a second. Why don't I just try and work at a marketing agency as a web developer because I know how to code? And so to me, that was like, the smart idea. And so I did that. And so, like, truth be told, I fucking hated like the 1.5 years I was there. I absolutely hated it, but I learnt so much. Like that's the flip side of it. Like when you in a new environment, particularly in a small startup, for anyone, like you learn heaps because you see how the entire business operates. And I didn't know at the time, but that's what I needed to actually learn about how businesses grow, like how to market yourself, etc. And these guys, when I joined, they weren't doing exclusively ecom, but a couple of months through, they're like, "Oh, hang on, let's just do ecom." They were doing very small brands, which, as a service-based business, is like isn't that great to work with because they don't have much capital.
Yeah.
And then I was sort of seeing all the basic difficulties they had, and then making my own solution for it that would work for me. And after 1.5 years, I basically went, okay, I've had enough of this. I need to go do my own thing, and I left that in April last year, or I would have left, and then tried to make a software for Shopify, which basically just didn't work out. And I was like, hang on, a lot of people are still coming to me to design their websites, to design their landing pages, all that sort of stuff, and I can implement it myself. So I was like, I can do the entire funnel by myself because I've got that skill set and I've got a really in-depth understanding of the e-com industry, and I know how exactly it works because I've been in the startup for the last 1.5 years, right? And then I eventually just started Swenny Studio. I was sitting down with some friends. We were at the pool or something. We were like just having a yarn. I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to start a business. And I did. And now what I'm probably up to my 5th or 6th month. And, it's just gone up and up and up and up and up.
Nice. Have you built out a team, or are you still kind of working by yourself and getting a few people on the side to do certain things, or?
I've got a team of subcontractors, and I've white
Yeah.
labeled basically my SEO and PPC service to a guy I really like working with and I trust a lot. So that's how I've done that. But in terms of like web design landing pages, there's so many things that need to be done. I sort of like project manage it, if that makes sense. Like I've written all the SOPs. I know like what a good outcome looks like.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of get contractors to do like each little like vertical that needs to be done. But talking about like teams and stuff, like I know you said you've got a team of like outbound what do you call it, appointment setters.
Yeah.
For me, like I am only really starting to get into lead generation like properly, like from in a scalable way. Like right now, the referrals are sort of like ticking me over. I can get to 20-30K a month just in referrals, but
Yeah. That's really good.
ultimately though, lead generation systems is like what scales you to like the $500,000 a month like type figures. Excuse me. So I'm sort of dabbling in that, but one of the things I learned, particularly team members, it's like you cannot sacrifice quality. Like you can't just pay some guy $10 an hour to design your website. Like
Yeah.
you pay for what you get. And I sort of learned that the hard way. Like I
100%.
tried. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get like 90% margins, and it just doesn't work. Like the amount of errors they make, like you're probably spending that like way more money like fixing those mistakes. Or
Exactly,
much
not
more
worth
time.
it.
Exactly. So for me, it was just like, how do I source the highest quality individuals that can do the best work in Australia? How do I even get to them? And when I can, like, how do I convince them to do contracting for me? So for me, that was like, I guess, in hindsight, like one of my successes was sort of getting a few people on board like that are actually really good. there's enough, like I pay them enough where they're satisfied, but it's also enough margin in it for me. So
Yeah. No,
but
team is everything for sure.
yeah, the people's like sort of what makes a brand, to be honest, and sort of what makes a really
Yeah.
good business. And I think a lot of people forget that, particularly like I guess you see a lot of agencies, like particularly like the Dean White community, where they've just got a bunch of like Filipino or like Indian
Yeah.
subcontractors that are working for like $6-7 an hour, and it's just like, well, sure that their revenue or their profit margin is going to be insane for a few months, but when that dries out and then no one's coming in because they're not getting any referrals, like no one likes the work, they're getting issues, like it dries up really really quick, and it's always a few month delays. So
Yeah, exactly. And that was my kind of, I'm kind of dabbling in, kind of like the lead generation stuff as well, looking into AI, then also with the appointment set of stuff. So something I found was if I didn't have a following and I was putting out job posts to find these appointment setters who can do the outreach for me, they're not quality. They're not going to find me any good leads. The people who are just desperate for money, don't have anything to show for it, and they're just going to waste your time. Like, hey, awesome, man. It's like a job. They expect you to tell them what to do. And really, I wanted people who already kind of had some sort of lead list, or they run their own web design agency. And to be fair, a lot of the time they are in those kind of countries, like India, Pakistan, wherever. But by the time it gets to the sales calls, they can't build that trust. There's a little bit of a language barrier. So that's why a lot of these guys would come to me and say, look, I've seen your videos. I'd really love to help out kind of your brand and agency moving forward. I have these leads kind of ready to go who want a website. I was going to try and do it, but I'm struggling to close these deals, at least for a lot of money. It'd be more beneficial for me to help you, send these leads to you. You take care of all the designing, all of the sales calls, and I'll just get a commission and focus on outreach. So that's why I'm kind of focused on getting even just 1 to 2, just a small, really quality bunch of appointment setters. And then now I've got some setters who are kind of dabbling and have some experience in more AI outreach. So something I've found is it really is a numbers game in terms of outreach. But if your outreach is more personalized, so I've got a few videos where I've dove into, the anatomy of a winning script, like sending a personalized for the first, like something personalized, like, hey man, I really love your shoot you did with the Ferrari, of the videographer, whatever, something like that, to come off as genuine and not just a copy paste kind of text message. And then free value. So we have actually gone ahead and made you a free website. Is it cool if I send it over? And then that's kind of like the call to action. So awesome, man. Like, yeah, I'd love to see it. Oh, sorry, we made on software. It'd be heaps easier if you jump on a quick 10-minute Zoom call, we can go through it. That's in my setters. Send through the Calendly link. I got my calls booked. Then I go ahead and do the quick mock up and present it and pitch them on that sales call. So yeah, with AI, you can't be as personalized, but also you can send huge numbers. Like I got a guy that'll be doing within the next week or so, we should be going, but like 1,500 emails a day. Like obviously over time, that's you're going to get results. So
yeah, for
that is
sure.
up. So yeah, he's actually he actually has a lot of good experience, but there was a few laws in his country that stopped him being able to work with certain people. But long story short, yeah, so we're working together now, and it's just that mix of just a numbers game, and then also kind of being genuine, and these appointments is having really good like themed Insta pages for the outreach. So that's just something I'm still experimenting with, but it's just working for now. I'm just trying to fix up little things of it and just kind of build and scale from here. But yeah, the main thing is just the power of like personal branding. So I wanted to ask you about that. Like you've got this successful, multi 5-figure a month agency, but now you're getting into personal branding. So why is that? Where do you see it moving forward? And kind of what are your plans with that?
Yeah, so for me, like the reason was pretty logical. Like on top of like seeing everyone else do it, like people I work with, like Simon Beer, like dude, he's worth like what 300-400 million dollars, and he's working. He's now doing personal branding. Same with other like massive successful people, and the reason behind that is when you go try like close a sale, right? There's like a huge like barrier of trust. It's like you're basically trying to convince them to trust you, and like you'll carry out a service, they pay. That's where the trust is. When you make a personal brand, all of your knowledge and all of your expertise is now like the forefront of it. Like anyone can go see like how legitimate you are. When you build that follower account, that's just trust. Like social, what we call marketing social proof, which is like how many 5-star reviews do you have, how many Instagram followers do you have, how long
Yep.
have you been posting for, like stuff like that. what that does is basically gives the end user like a lot of trust in you. Like if I go on your Instagram and say you've been doing web design for 2 years and you've got 30,000 followers, it's very obvious that you know what you're talking about. Like
Yeah.
the trust is now like it's now there, and you haven't even had to talk to the client yet. Like that's the beautiful thing about it. So for me, like it's like I would love to do personal branding well, not only because like I now have a business that operates around me and I can monetize it however I want, whenever I want. It's got that sort of beautiful factor about it. But like from a practical note, in sales calls, it's now pre-framed, or what we call in sales pre-framed, where they trust you off the rip. They want to work with you because of how
They're
good you are at the
sold by the
job.
time they're on the sales call.
Exactly. So you don't even have to do any selling. You can just basically say, this is the timeline, this is what it'll cost, this is what it'll look like, this is how it works, this is how it'll work. And it's simply a yes or no from them. And because it's already been pre-framed, because they're already sold how good you are on the rip, like you've got an insanely good close rate, you no longer have to do outbound, you've got people coming to you. Like it's just such a beneficial thing from a monetary point of view. And on top of that,
Yeah.
like if down the road you go, oh, actually I don't want to do web design, I'll move to graphic design. Well, now you've got 30, 50,000 people online that are just going to follow you there as well.
Exactly. No matter what business you go into, whether you want to then also kind of monetize and help other people directly, as like a mentorship, do the same thing that you've done. It just opened up so many doors, like networking as well, getting contacted with more people that can help future, boost up business. It's just so crazy. And the great thing is you don't need a huge following to be seen and to make a difference. Like with my 1,000 subscribers, even before I even hit 1,000 subscribers, and this is just posting a few long form videos. I haven't really even tackled short form, to be honest. The opportunities that came from that were crazy, but specifically again, networking, building my appointment setters who have just these little things that have just gone such a long way for me and in generating online income and revenue without exactly selling directly to like an audience or some type of like coaching offer, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, especially like with like the algorithm, if you're posting good, valuable, entertaining, good content, you will be seen. You will be seen. You'll go up. It's just staying consistent, and that's the plan for me this year. That's my biggest thing, aside from agency and everything, is to build up the personal brand, help as many people as I can, and then obviously implement these systems that can just help grow the agency altogether. So yeah, big things coming for that.
Yeah, definitely. Like that's one of my goals as well. I wanted to post
Yeah.
150 YouTube videos, and I tried a few different like platforms. Like I tried short form Instagram, I tried short form TikTok, and I guess for me it was like, what did I enjoy doing most? What could I do the most consistently? Like because at the end of the day, it's like you can't. It's not even the quality. Obviously, does come into play, but a lot of it's just consistency. It's like the guy
Yeah.
that I think you may have seen like the Alex Moses story. It was like there's one class with the task of making one perfect pot, and there's another class with the task of making 1,000 pots, and it could be any quality they want. The class making 1,000 pots at the end were making better quality pots than the guy that made the one perfect one, because it's purely
Yeah.
just it's a numbers game. It's like how many
Exactly.
times can you do it? It's same with producing videos. If I produce 150 videos, by the time the 150 video comes, that quality will be a lot better than one perfect video that I make now.
Yeah.
So for me, that was like a no-brainer. It's like I'm just going to pump out content that I find easy to do, that I consume myself, which is that sort of 10 to 15 minute long form content where it's oddly like specific, very practical advice, like sort of not very much edited, like almost raw. And to me, it's like, okay, well, that's easy to pump out because I have these conversations with people every day now. I just got to record it. Like it's a
Exactly. Yeah.
no-brainer.
A
for
lot of
me.
the time that is the case. It's happening now day to day life. It's just
Yeah.
now kind of monetizing that. And especially as we're trying to, as personal brand, we're trying to get eyeballs, but more specifically, build that connection, get people to know who we are. And when it comes to sales calls, work with us. So if you're, even if you are growing consistent on these short form platforms, they're only seeing you up to like a minute at a time. Whether YouTube, they're sitting down, they're watching a long, 10, 20 minute video. They might be watching a long kind of, podcast style video similar to this, where who knows how long this is, and they're learning about you, your personality, what you're working with. And it's all just about trust and credibility. Because, yeah, I originally started, the plan was always to go ahead with YouTube, but I started also doing, a little bit of TikTok, and I'm sure, it's all consistency. You stay consistent, it would work out. But YouTube was really just the one that clicked, and the more I put in, the more I saw came out of it. I'd do a video, I get really good views and subs, I'd do a really good video, I would just go from there. So that's really why now I'm just really focusing on this long form, niching down, helping others, value.
Yeah, nice. Like for me, like I'm only at the very start of my sort of YouTube journey. Like I've only
Yep.
posted like a dozen videos tops, but even still, like I've already seen like a little bit of growth. Already seen like just in the community as well, like more outreach, that sort of thing. And it's like,
Yep.
dude, like I've literally posted like 12 videos. Like how is this happening? It's just so effective, and
Exactly.
for me, like particularly with my client base, what I do is so technical. It's like really people get lost in it. Like it's not explained very well a lot of the time. So a lot of the time I'm just having these conversations with clients, just showing them like why, for example, growing your AOV by 20% can double your profitability. And people are like, what? Like, how's that even possible? And
Yeah.
so I just explain it to them like using charts and stuff. I'm like, hang on a second, what if I just record this and upload it? Now like 1,000 people can watch it, or an infinite amount of people can watch it and learn off it.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
like, yeah, exactly. To me, it was a no-brainer, and like that's pretty much my one goal this year. Like the agency now is like sort of consistent. I'm now no longer doing any month below 10 grand or 12 grand even.
Yep.
So
No,
now
that's
I'm like,
so good, man.
got that little bit of stability. Now it's time to really focus on the personal brand aspect. And I know you're doing the exact same thing.
Absolutely. No, yeah, that's really good moving forward. It's so funny talk about it, perspective and stuff. Like my friend who I mentioned earlier, who's now getting into a lot of e-commerce stuff. Like the days when, and we can also relate as well in getting our first agency clients. Like you just wish for that first sale, or you wish for
Yeah.
that first project. And then yesterday, because he always updates me on his numbers, he's like, "Man, I had a shit." And he's like being dead serious. Like I had a shit day. My ad spend was so high. I only made $780, and he does nothing. Like he spends an hour work a day. And he was dead serious. Like, man, I only made $780 today. And I'm like, bro, you got to remember where you were a month ago, man. It's
Yeah.
just crazy perspective how you level up. You always want to do better, and
Yeah. I think that's sort of valuable in a sense. Like a lot of people do sort of get stuck and sort of step back and go, I'm good now.
yeah,
I'm making 4 grand a month. I'm making 5 grand a month, and it's like really, like if you really applied yourself. I know for me, oh man, even like in November or October, I was like, fuck yeah, dude. I made like 15 in November, and I was like, oh dude, I'm like totally set now. I'm totally sweet. And
yeah.
now like, if I don't get over 20k this month in Feb, I'm gonna be like fucking like
Damn,
genuinely
I'm a
pissed
failure,
off.
bro.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. So, Mac, if you were to start from zero and tomorrow start a web design agency or some type of, other agency around this space, exactly, step by step, what would you do to get to where you are now?
That's a pretty good question. So I guess for everyone it'd be different. So for me, I'd work, okay, what am I good at and what do I actually like? What experience do I actually have? Like, obviously, if I worked at a mechanic, I'd have experience on how mechanics operate, how their business model works and whatnot. So I would
Yeah.
first sort of literally write down what am I good at, what do I like doing, what we call unfair advantage do I have. So like what knowledge do I have about a certain industry that most other people wouldn't have. Work out what that is. Next thing I would do is essentially work out 2 offers, like literally write down like 2 different offers. So depending on like what I'm good at. So again, I'm going to use the mechanic example. Okay, let's say I'm really good at designing and I'm really good at ads. I'd write down 2 offers. So what we call an intro offer and I guess our main offer. So an intro offer is generally like a one-time payment that's usually like low barrier of entry that we can use to get someone to trust us without doing free work off the rip. So I basically just ripped this off. I think Matthew Larson did a video on this like ages ago, but I still use this to this day. So to get an intro offer, let's say I'm a mechanic. My intro offer could be as simple as I'll build you a 1-page website with a full funnel. It'll cost you, let's say, 2 grand or 1 grand or whatever it is, like something low cost. And then my main offer might be PPC ads and SEO or a lead generation service. And it costs, I don't know, 4 grand a month, 5 grand a month on a retainer. So that's how I'll do the 2 offers. I'll literally write down like what I'll do for each one. In the intro offer, it was extremely important to deliver as much value as you possibly can. Like, no questions asked. So it'd be like, how do I go above and beyond? So this client is like absolutely like chuffed with what they're getting. Like, how do I deliver as much value as possible? And a lot of the time, like, you probably won't be making much money. Like this offer will probably suck to actually like do, but it's something you need to do. You need to provide as much value as possible. So I'll literally handwrite those 2 things. Then I would do both of those things for free for a friend or a family or a network that you've got or whatever it is, just to get your foot in the door, just to get like your real like world experience, because that's way more important than any theoretical experience that you have. Like you just thinking about, oh, I'm going to do this like this, I'm going to do this like this. Like literally 99.9% of the time, that's not how it actually is going to work in the real world. Like you're actually doing it. So I would find a friend, family, even your boss or whatever, just say, hey, can I do this stuff for free for you guys? No like questions asked, no bullshit, complete free. Do that for like a month or so, 2 months or whatever it is. Work out all the issues, iron out all the issues again, write down your offers, write down like how you're going to deliver everything, write down what we call SOPs or standard operating procedures, and like really build a pretty good system. Then once you have that system, that will take like a month or 2 months of learning. Then that's when you start doing, I guess, lead gen. If I was a mechanic owner, I would literally drive to every mechanic or local mechanic near me and go, okay, this is what I did for this business that you've already done it for. These are the results.
Yep.
And you keep I should say as well, going back a step, keep doing it for that local, like your friend or family, whatever it is, for free, even when the results are good. And you keep doing it, you stay at that stage until the results are good, until you're good enough. Then that's when you go to other mechanics, like literally drive to other mechanics and be like, hey, I've did this for another guy. Like, you can trust me. I'm here in person. I can shake your hand. I can greet you.
I was going to say, sorry, just a quick side note. That's something a lot of people don't talk about as well. And I know a lot of people may not have access to do certain things, but in-person kind of marketing, you're a real person. You go there and you show them. You print out binders, whatever, and you go through that shit like, hey, this is exactly what I've done for this business over in, X town. That's a really good point you make. Just going in person and handing out business cards, doing anything, but being a legitimate person, that's a really good thing that a lot of people don't talk about. So I'll let you keep going.
Yeah. So differentiate yourself. Like I know all the Alex and Moses, all the business gurus are going to say, nah, just do ads. Like, look, if you're on a huge scale and you're like trying to scale like by hundreds and thousands of people, 100% do ads. But why they do ads is because they're time poor, not money poor. You're the opposite. You've got all the time in the world, but you've got no money. So you need to differentiate yourself, and you'll only be able to do like 6, maybe 7 mechanics a day, but your close rate, you might get a mechanic a day, you might get a new business every 2 days, and even that, you close 3 of them, you get the intro offer that's like irrefutably good, like they are guaranteed an ROI, like it is the best thing in the world, it is so good value for money, like so they trust you, then you've got so many opportunities coming just from those businesses. So that's what I would do to get my first paying client. And then I guess I should mention that you're pitching your intro offer. As soon as your intro offer is good, like I guarantee you, like this is my entire business model, right? Like if it's good, I guarantee you they're going to go, hey, what else do you do? Like they want your help. Like you've proved yourself. And then that's when you sort of upsell your main offer. Your main offer doesn't have to be irrefutably good. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to cure cancer, as they say. Like it just has to do what you say it's going to do. So it just has to get them leads. It just has to work, and that's when you can sort of start hiring people to do that offer, and that's where you get your financial stability from as well, because that would be on a retainer.
And you've built that trust with that client then to go ahead and do that. They're sold.
Exactly.
You got them those amazing results for that price at the start.
Exactly.
It's a really smart strategy.
And I'm not some like $500,000 a month agency owner. Like I'm still at the very beginning. I'm still only doing 20, 30K a month, but
But still, people, that is exactly where they want to be. That is their end goal as well. It's still perspective. So
yeah, exactly. So that's what I would personally do. And again, only do an industry that you've got knowledge on, because if you don't have knowledge in it, you've never worked in the industry, like you're going to find it incredibly difficult. You're not going to know what you're talking about. When you present problems or solutions to problems that they have, and a typical marketing agency wouldn't know even exists, that's when you can get your foot in the door. So again, one of the things might be for a mechanic, I've never worked a mechanic, but it might be, we can only service certain types of cars or vehicles, whatever it is. And this is what we're going to do to your website so that only those cars can come in. You only get qualified leads with those certain vehicles or whatever it is. And a normal marketing agency would never even approach that. They would just give you the exact same form, the exact same website template across 30 different industries. So that's sort of how you get your foot in the door. And it's just going to take time as well. That's the other thing people don't like to hear.
That's it.
Like
Yeah,
you're
it
gonna be,
will. It
you're gonna
won't
be,
happen overnight.
yeah, literally. I've been doing my business for like 6 months, and I'm still like trying to get meetings with new people, new
Yeah.
business owners, whatever. Like that doesn't stop until like you're making literally hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you can pay people to do that.
Exactly. That's why, especially if you're young, you're still living at home, you have a little bit of money saved up. Like it is you could not have a better time to do it. You know, because it really is. It isn't for everyone. It can be extremely harder for certain people to get into. You know, if you can't quit your full time job, or if people working two jobs. You know, you got a family, you've got to travel long distances for work. A lot of things where they just can't afford to,
Yeah.
give up that time or money to then move forward. So yeah, you really got to take advantage if that is you, living
Yeah,
at home, your expenses are low, money.
and like you said, like I did it like the hardest path possible. I was living in the city, which at the time was like super expensive, living
Yeah.
like by myself. So I was paying super amounts for rent. I had to essentially have a job simultaneously. So it was like
Yeah.
really difficult. How do I finish work at 5 o'clock and then like do this sort of outreach after hours and then come back to work at 7:30, 8 o'clock or whatever it is. And for me, like literally, I used to come to work early, like 6:30, 7 a.m. So used to sit at my laptop and just fucking email, just make
Yeah.
rooms, like just message anyone I could just to get my foot in the door and just like sort of hustle. But for me as well, it was a very much like environment. Like it was my environment. Like I used to leave home and work in like an office so that I was more productive and I could do this for like 2 hours whilst I know like people sort of just sit on the couch and watch TV, have the TV in the background, and they're doing like fuck all, and they're like, oh, I don't want to do this, I'm too tired or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And
No, you really got to lock in and grind and make it happen. Do anything you can.
yeah, and just going over the environment thing as well. It's like I remember like literally doing this in the back of the truck, like programming. Like it was so hard to learn, and then I was like, hang on, why don't I just go to the library and learn a program there? And then I was like, hang on, why don't I learn a program like at the office at work or whatever it was. And now for here as well, what I really realized when you got your business, like I moved in with, one of my best friends who also is like a hustler, if you will.
Nice.
And so now
Yeah.
we've got this like real nice apartment, real flashy, nice place, just a really great, clean environment that's like super high productive, and it almost like fixes your mindset. Then
Oh, yeah.
you're eating
No, that's
healthy
the dream.
foods, you're more energetic, like you're getting more shit done, you're making more money. Like it's just a really good cycle. So I think one of the other tips as well is put yourself in a good environment and have good people around you.
Absolutely. Could not
Super
agree more.
underrated.
Yeah.
Super
No,
underrated.
people, location, everything, it really makes a difference. Definitely.
Mm.
No, that's good, man. And that's like a super, like a lot of people, if you're watching this right now and you're just watching, like don't just watch, you have to really go in depth and take notes because this guy, he knows what he's doing. He's made it work. And if you're, just being lazy on your lounge and you don't have enough time to do a little bit of outreach or learn these, high value skills and do something, yeah, it's not going to work out for you. So, now, that's a super really good answer for getting those first clients, keeping those clients, moving forward, getting more clients. But what would you say then for beginners, or perhaps a mistake you made, or a mistake you see just happen over and over again for people that are just starting out or trying to scale, that these people make when getting into an agency, web design agency?
The most common mistake I see is people like saying, "Oh, it's not the right time to start." It's like, "Oh, I've got this thing at work, I can't do it," or "I've got this thing in real life, can't do it." Like, there's never going to be a perfect time.
There's
Like,
never a right
it
time.
just doesn't exist. I don't know where people get this idea from that there's a perfect time to start a business. Like, it's never ever going to be like, okay, I wake up one day, it's the perfect time. There's nothing going on at work, nothing going on at home, there's nothing going on with my friends, whatever it is. That just doesn't exist. I don't know where people got this idea from, and I see it like literally every single day. Just start learning something, start doing outreach, start marketing yourself,
100%.
start recording YouTube videos. Like, just do it. Like, literally open your laptop and do it. And it's gonna suck. It's gonna feel like really weird and scary, but you just gotta sort of persevere through that. Be resilient,
Yeah.
and then make it a habit. And once you make it a habit, then you'll start seeing results.
Exactly. Then once you get those first clients, you get that first paycheck in. It is. There's no more like this. It's so motivating, It's just addicting then to just lock in even more. Like even right now, like I only get a few hours sleep per night. Like I'm up fairly early, up to the AM, working, at least like 12-hour days a lot of the time, which isn't realistic. But at the end of the day, it's like what I want to do. Like I enjoy doing this so much most of the time. A lot of the time, not really, And I do keep I'm big on having some sort of good balance as well. Going out with friends, going to the beach, going for a swim, going to the gym, stuff like that. But yeah, no, if this is something you really want to get into, and love, like you really just got to take that step and go for it,
Yeah, and I suppose the other thing, like, just to give myself an example, this is probably going to come
Hmm.
across as a bit crazy, but like the environment like me and my mate have here now, it's like working 16-hour days is like normal. Like that's the norm.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
we get up at 7 a.m. We cook 6 eggs each, like
Yep.
bacon, like good start to the day, and then we just fucking lock in, like literally all
Yep.
day, and we finish at like 10 o'clock, 10, 11 o'clock even. It's like it's definitely the environment, and like that is just super normal for us. If you were to do this like at your current situation, like whoever's watching this, or at your mum's house or your family's house or whatever it is, it'd probably be very sort of frowned upon to work, those long hours. Like a lot of people
Yeah.
tell you like, oh, I get work life balance, like I only work 8 hours a day and
Mm.
call it like that. And like I just me personally, I just don't agree with that. Like you can't prosper, you can't get above everyone else if you do the same as everyone else. Like
Exactly. Yeah.
that's just not how life works. So
Yep.
yeah,
Helps you be disciplined in every area of your life. Like you said, eating healthy, getting up on time, going to the gym, still having that kind of work and like
yeah,
some chill time balance as well. But yeah, it just helps you just be disciplined in everything and stand out. That means a few different things. You got to stand out from the competitors in terms of how you pitch yourself, how you offer yourself to clients and viewers, and then also your day-to-day things. What are you doing differently? Are you doing the same? Are you doing less? You have to be above and believe in
yeah.
your skill set in
It,
every single level.
Yeah, exactly. It's like someone I remember when I was a kid told me, it's like I used to play a bit of rugby and I was training the same as everyone else. And I was trying to get, really good at rugby. They're like, well, how are you meant to get better than everyone else if you're putting in the same amount of work as everyone else? And that's sort of like
Yep.
really stuck with me. It's the same with business. It's like, how are you going to get, bigger than everyone else? How are you going to make more money than everyone else? How are you going to get more successful than everyone else? Or define success. It's like, for me, it's doing stuff I enjoy, not so much the monetary aspect, but that sort of follows. But it's like, how do I grow my business more than everyone else without putting in more work than everyone else? Like, it just doesn't make sense,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And I think one of the things as well, just going on a slight tangent, is like building habits for me was super difficult. Like, personally, like I hated waking up early. I hated going to the
Me
gym.
too.
I got like
Yeah.
literally, I was like 105 kilos at some point because I just hated, like, I didn't want to go to the gym. I just got real fat and I was like,
Yeah.
because I hated doing habits that much. And then eventually I sort of worked out a system which worked for me, which was do one habit at a time. Like try and build on one thing at a time. Do it for a month straight. Keep going. Like if you miss one day, like reset. A month resets. So you just got to lock in. Just do
Yeah.
one thing at a time. Like that's all it takes. And as soon as you do one
Could not
thing,
agree more.
that's when you do that over like a year, 2 years, and then bang, now you're basically a new person. You're going to the gym. You're going for runs. You've
Yeah.
got a clean house. You got a good environment. You've got good friends. Whatever it is. So for me, that one was a massive thing, and that's not really businessy aspect, but it sort of helps so much. Like,
Yeah.
it's not direct work, but it just helps your direct work so
Yeah.
much.
No, I'm glad you brought this up because I was never, ever, ever a morning person. I'm talking
Yeah,
especially when I was younger on school holidays, I'd be getting up at midday. Like I was
yeah,
never a morning person, but now I'm up and I'm up at 7, 8 and I want to get up. I want to open my laptop as quick as I can and make more money and get into it. But I completely agree with you how I went about it was like, how many times is it New Year's? Like, all right, January 1st, I'm going to the gym nearly every day. I'm getting up early. I'm eating healthy. I'm doing this. I'm going to lock in, make money. Then you don't do it. You may do it for a few days and you give up. Like, oh, well, failed. And then you wait for the next year. But for me, what I really try to do is, yeah, do one thing at a time and then transition into it. So rather than, all right, from tomorrow, I'm going to be waking up at 6 every day. And put an hour back. A few weeks later, go an hour back. Just slowly try to get up
yeah,
early rather than going to the gym every day. Slowly, pick up a few extra sessions, pick it up, work time, slowly build your days so it becomes normal. Super important to have that kind of like transition so it becomes the new normal for you. It's not like a big shock change and it's super hard to keep up with and you just give up and you never make that progress. So yeah, that's super big as well.
yeah. Like I remember for me, like building the work ethic. Like I know for me, like that's sort of been my differentiating factor. Like I've lost friends. I've like, well, not lost friends per se, but I've had friends that like think you're fucking weird. I've had
Yeah.
relationships end because I just work so much, and I know that to a lot of people that probably sounds bad, but that's like the sort of sacrifice you got to make to actually,
Yeah.
be successful. Unfortunately, but for me,
Yeah.
it's like
And
I couldn't just wake up one day and just work 20 hours like that. I've never been able to do that. So what I did did the 9 to 5 like already. That's pretty draining. A lot of people think that's a lot. And I went to work an hour earlier, did my own thing for an hour because I'm already in that work mindset. So I've already got my coffee. I'm already like sort of going at it. And then like if I sort of if that faded a little bit, I don't really care because I was at a job I didn't really enjoy, and
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
it doesn't affect me. It just affects what I'm doing at my job. And then I started going 2 hours early, and then I started staying an hour back, and then I was like, hang on, I got to this stage, and then I left that job, and then I was doing that same amount of hours now. I went from 3 hours a day to like 10 hours a day, 11 hours a day, and that slowly grew and grew and grew, and now it's sort of a stage where it's like, we usually got our laptops at the breakfast table, like checking emails, like we'll talk about like what we're going to do that day, what that looks like, and now just sort of turn into, 15, 16-hour days, and I don't recommend doing that every single day, but
No.
doing 80, 90-hour weeks is, for me, like, I think I've done a week less than 80 hours in months.
Yeah.
And, people might say that's crazy, but it's like, well, that's the thing you got to pay. And if you start doing that yourself, you just see, like, let's say you do 80 hours a week in January, all those results then will flow over into February.
Exactly.
And that's when you see it. Like, your business results is like a month, 2 months behind. So, like, the effort you put in now. And I guarantee you'll see that come through. Like, you'll notice it.
100%.
Even if it's just even if you just add in like a couple of hours a day and you're just sort of dicking around even and you're losing concentration, you'll see it come through, and it comes very, very, I guess, motivating.
And I guess like another thing as well to note about those hours is a lot of people, they're doing a lot more physical jobs. You could be a gym trainer, you could be working, for example, when I was at a warehouse, it was all day non-stop apart from my breaks, walking up and down the huge warehouse aisles, lifting big Eve sheets and timber, helping the traders non-stop load it in the car. You're sweating and you're dead, you're tired, you crash when you get home. At least the thing with this is that's why it's really good to have that balance and make sure you're getting out, you're going on walks, you're going to the gym as well, because it can be mentally draining, but your body, you lay down, your mental's dead, but your body wants to go. So also, I guess you say these long hours, it seems a lot of shocking, but I guess that can also be for people who are doing 8-hour days at a physical job. I guess that is something to note. As long hours, but it's good hours. Like you're on a laptop, you got it pretty good at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. And look, I can't speak for that. Like, I did roofing when I was 16. I fucking hated it. I hated being on the roof. Like, I don't know if you got any roofers in your community, but dude, it sucks. It's like the worst type of work. And I fucking hated it. I was like, I'm never going to do a career in this. Like, I don't care what it takes. I'm not doing this the rest of my life. And like, I can't speak about doing, physical laborious jobs. Like, I've always just worked in an office because I'm still pretty young, but that's just sort of like what I sort of enjoyed. I like using my brain.
Yeah.
And so I can't speak, like, if you're working like an actual like labourer's job for 8 hours a day, like I don't have a solution for you to like just magically have more energy besides like...
Yeah, no, I've the utmost respect for those people. Like when I say I work hard, I don't mean like I work hard, because I understand what those people do. That is hard work.
That's
smart,
fucking hard work. Yeah, exactly.
I be working smart, lock it in, working smart. But when people say, I don't like to say like, I've been working hard, because those other people like, man, you don't know what hard work is.
Yeah, exactly. And like, dude, I've dabbled in it, and dude, it sucks. Like, that is hard work. If you haven't,
especially your whole life.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, if you haven't been a roofer or a fence or a diesel fitter or like whatever it is, right, dude, that it sucks. Like, I have the most respect for them, but like I said, again, you can control that. Like, you can get a white collar job somewhere, even if it's like for minimal pay, just so you can like have a lot more, I guess, bandwidth through the day to do your own thing. Like, I guess that would be some sort of transition. But I also get like some people don't want to do that or can't do that because of financial reasons or stability reasons or whatever it is. So look, I can't speak for that. Like, I'm not going to pretend I've got a solution for that. Like, I've never had that problem before.
Yeah.
But
that's good, man. And I guess also, so now that's really good. That's a really good thing to talk about, like personal kind of development and going ahead with that, making sure that's in order. But with kind of like the traps that people also fall into, talking more specifically about like agency and online income as well. They might sign their first client or they get their first big paycheck. Would you agree it's super important to not fall into that trap of, okay, everything's going to be good now. I can go and move out. I can buy this and that. When really you haven't got your system set up so it's
Yeah.
consistent, sustainable income, Like,
Yeah.
how do you know how much you're making next month?
For sure. Like I see that happen all the time. Like people like I'll speak about personal experience. I got like a 6 grand paycheck. I remember like my first like biggest one was 6 or 8 grand. And I thought it was on top of the world. I thought it was an absolute baller. And like to be honest, that was like one of the worst mistakes I've done because you sort of relax, you take the pedal off the metal, like you chill out a bit, like oh, I've
Yeah.
finally got stability, and that's just like not the case. It's like it should be the opposite. You should be like putting now more work into it, like figuring out how to sustain that system, like sort of
Yeah.
reverse engineering that. It's like, okay, how did I just land a 6 grand client? Like, what did I actually do to obtain this? And then figure out how to do it more and more time and time again and really get that stability. You can't just
Yeah.
get that one paycheck and then just be like, all right, sweet, my business is now successful. That's just not the case. And like you said, you see it all the time. I see it all the time, particularly in communities. And people just get stuck. They're like,
Exactly.
okay, I just made 6 grand this month, and I've got nothing coming in the next month or whatever it is. And yeah, you've got to figure out how to sustain that.
Yeah, because it can also be hard when you're seeing, all these different communities and people and owners sharing all of these results in business models that how do you know, cool, they made this money, but is this enough to, okay, I see this, I'm going to quit my job and do the same, but how do you know that person that just made, thousands of dollars this month is making money for the next year, has a system in place, so it's just really important to keep it real and make sure you don't, really don't fall into that trap just from the beginning and as you're trying to grow from there as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things I personally hate about like the SMMA community, especially like I've sort of like somewhat left it, but like from what I remember, people just like post their results like, oh, I made 10 grand this month, I made 100 grand this month, whatever it is. But what you
Yeah.
don't see is the people going, oh, I've just made this extremely successful system. I've SOP'd out. I've spent 100 hours literally handwriting the SOPs to give to other contractors so that I can sustain this kind of revenue. You don't see that. They don't post that. People don't even make YouTube videos about that, like, majority of the time. Like, you don't see that crazy work. And then sometimes you get the odd case where you'd be like someone without systems going, oh, I've just landed, $10,000 client, and they've done it once in the entire year out of, like, sheer luck or sheer volume with no systems in place.
Yeah.
And people think, like, oh, now this guy's making, 10 grand or whatever it is every single month. And like you said, that's just not the case for a majority of people. And those people don't post like the actual systems and whatnot. So like for me, if before you like sort of quit your job, one of the good things, I'm going to talk about like a practical solution here. If you do your payments through Stripe, which is a pretty good platform to do it through, look at your MRR. Don't look at like your sheer revenue or your sheer sales. If your MRR is like lower than the salary of whatever job you're at now, like don't quit. Like keep doing whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think.
No, 100%. And as you're kind of talking about, Stripe and payment processing, a thing jumped in my head as well. This is another thing, especially, in Australia, a lot of people don't talk about as well, is making sure with this money you are on top of your taxes. You put it to the side, you got an accountant. I'd like for you to kind of give me, because I'm sure you probably had to
dude,
go through a bit. So if you want to... Yeah, no, you go for it, bro. Tell me about it.
So I remember when I started my first business, I went to... did my tax returns in like November, like really, really late. And I was only doing it since July. And she's like, oh, your tax returns. Yeah, like I've written quite a bit of it off, but, have a $18,000 bill, whatever it was.
You're kidding.
I was like, what the fuck? like what? And,
wow.
And yeah, it's crazy. Even like this financial year, dude, I'm estimated to pay like 50 something grand in taxes. And it's just like insane. So, definitely like put money aside. Like you're gonna have cash flow issues, but there's a few things, particularly here in Australia, that you can do to like help sustain it. So one of the things is like you can just like literally write to the ATO and be like, hey, can we go on a payment plan? Like that's a thing that they do. So if you're like me and did like fuck up and somehow ended up with an $20,000 tax bill and
insane, bro,
and you most definitely don't have that on hand, you can just go to the ATO and basically say like, hey, I've never, I'm like a small business owner, I'm whatever years old, I don't know how this shit works, and basically you can go on a payment plan. The other one is as well,
I didn't know that. That's good, actually.
Put money aside, like when you make a sale, like literally put like whatever your tax bracket is aside into a different account, like literally off the rip.
Yep.
Like,
Don't touch it. That's
don't
what I
touch
do.
it.
That's
Don't look at it. Don't see
yeah,
it.
that's not your money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it isn't your money. And I know a lot of people say like, oh, you know, I've got tax write-offs, I can do blah blah blah.
Still.
Yeah, still put that away, and then like, you know, at the end of the month or end of the quarter, or end of the financial year, when you do pay your taxes, you can sort of like keep the difference.
Exactly.
And a lot of people's business models like may not even like work that well. Like, you're gonna be pissed off, instead of making, let's say I make a $3,000 landing page sale, $1,000 or $1,200 goes to the service.
That's right. That's what people don't talk about. That's it.
You're not going to be left with much. You're going to be left with like $500, $600, and like, if your business doesn't work, still, like, that's your business. Like, that's your business's problem. That's not like tax's fault. You can't blame the government. Like, that is literally your fault. Like, your business structure is not good enough. So
100%. Yeah,
even for me, like, I'm still guilty. Like, admittedly, I don't put like 50% aside. I put like 25% on the side, but like, again, mine's a little bit different just because of like my extremely high overhead for like contractors, and because it's such big ticket items. Like, I can sort of get away with it, but like, I've only been able to
you're somehow on top of it and not just, all right, I got this money, I'm spending it for the next month. Yeah, don't wait for even tax season. If there's something you're getting into, just talk to an accountant and get a plan set up so you know how to move forward, and you're not. If
you're in Australia, like, literally just go to your local H&R block or like whatever it is. Pay like, you're gonna pay like $300, $400 for a tax return, or someone to go through your taxes. Like, just fucking do it. Like,
for sure.
If you do it too late, like, you're gonna be like in a really shitty position, and like, I know, like, it's just numbers. It just sounds like numbers, but like, you really think about it. If you got a $20,000 tax bill, like, what would that mean for you? Like, it's actually pretty scary.
Exactly.
Like, at the time, I was like, oh fuck, like, I fucked up. Yeah. And I can sort of laugh about it now because I've sort of dealt with it. But like,
you got past it.
Yeah, but like, a lot of people don't get past it. Like, that's the thing. I'm giggling about it, but like, it's actually pretty scary. And like, particularly if you've never dealt with like $20,000 at once before, like, a lot of people don't. It's that's
a good story, bro. I'm glad we mentioned that.
That's a good advice. And the other thing is, like, I think a lot of people say like, oh, I can set up a PTY Ltd, which is like Australia's like company structure, or I'm gonna set up a company in like Dubai or whatever. It's like, you can, but it's also pretty expensive to do, and it's also like pretty, like, it's not as straightforward as you think. You don't just set up an entity there and just call it a day. Like, that's just not how it works.
That is correct.
It's pretty expensive. So if you're making under a couple $100,000, like, just stay with an Australian entity. If you're making under 125 grand, I'd say like, you'll be fine staying as a sole trader, which is like a business structure in Australia, and that just means your personal revenue sort of is the same as your business revenue. Like, your business, I guess, entity is you. So if you're like between jobs or like doing this on the side, like, just be a sole trader. Like, it just makes your taxes way easier. You pay way less for an accountant. But
especially online, I guess more like in-person businesses where you do have, I guess, a high risk of having some sort of liability or injury or something that could go wrong. So that is a good point.
Yeah, but like I said, if you're making over, I'm gonna say like 125k Australian or about that, like, just register a PTY Ltd. Like, it'll cost like a couple $100, but
then you can benefits should outweigh and get set up properly.
Yeah, exactly. So that's some actual practical advice. But I don't know how many people are watching from Australia, but like, at least in like tax heavy countries, like even the US, like, I'm sure it'll work pretty similarly there.
Either way, you'd take this and kind of relate it to your own, wherever you're from, 100%. And I guess question. The last kind of, hopefully my camera doesn't die, the last kind of the trap also I wanted to mention is, and I can let you talk about this as well, is knowing when to say no. So obviously online business, when you start, you want to just accept anything. You've got to get money and you've got to get your foot in the door, as we've mentioned. But sometimes knowing when to say no is just as important as knowing when to say yes. You know what I mean? So do you want to kind of give me your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. So I've definitely fell in this trap myself. I used to just say yes to all kinds of work. Like, I just didn't care. And like, I guess when you're starting out, it's okay. Like, if there's no like ties, there's no guarantees in place, then like, I don't really see an issue with it. It's only when you get to the stage where you've got like set structures, you've got a business that does something very specific in a niche, and let's say again, you're a web designer for a mechanic, and there you've got a plumber saying, hey, can you run SEO for me? and you've already got a system in place, you got a bunch of mechanics, that's the time I would say no, and then refer them.
Yeah.
And that's the easiest way. That's the simplest way to do it. You don't just ignore them. You don't just say yeah and then fuck them over later. Just say no.
Yeah. Basically, be transparent.
Yeah, exactly. Just say like, I literally cannot service this. I'm not good at this, but I know someone who is. Go here, and this is why. And that way, A, you'll get a referral fee. Hopefully, if you're friends with the guy. B, that particular person, like you're always going to be on good grounds. Like you never know, he might then have a friend that owns a
Exactly.
mechanic.
Yeah.
So you've always got that good relationship. But that saying, if you're, I'm just going to pull a number out of my ass here. If you're doing less than 10 grand a month, or you're still sort of starting out, say yes. Like you can say no later. Just say yes now. Say yes to everything, all types of work, and then say no. If you can't do it, say no later.
Yeah.
And honestly, that is some pretty good advice. I wish I took on board earlier, and that's basically the main thing I would focus on.
No, I completely agree with that because there was a lot of things that I said I can do and I agreed to do, which I didn't in that moment. For example, building certain websites, implementing certain systems. But if I didn't take on that opportunity and then actually lock in and learn and then deliver that, I wouldn't have unlocked other opportunities to build off from that. But then also there's been other things, I've been offered, this big project to do and I can take control of it, whatever. But really, I know no matter what, I can't do it right now. And if I was to accept it, I'm putting off all of this other work, all of these other opportunities. So, it's just, it's not a very good investment, even though, sure, it's good money, could be good, but just got to, think really realistic with yourself and your goals.
Yeah, definitely.
Like camera died, so I'm just off the face cam, but that's all good.
Yeah, definitely. So for me to quantify that, let's say it's a $2,000 job, like just for argument's sake, and I go yes, but now I'm leaving maybe a week's worth of work. Would I have made $2,000 or more doing that week's worth of work in my own system? Would that have helped my business more than that $2,000? Where you got to calculate, okay, will the performance of the other business or my main business go down? Will that get hindered? If you say yes to that, do not take any more work on. Just do not. It should be simple as that. However, if it's no, it won't actually get hindered, but I can't do outbound, I can't prospect, I can't service, I can't do whatever, and you're sort of negative 2K, or you would have made 2K or more doing this, then say no. It's for just simple math.
Well, I really appreciate your time back, and I think it was really good for us to hop on and have this chat. I know I've been planning it for a while, just to kind of, spill out our brains to people who may be a few steps behind us, want to follow in our tracks and do what we do, kind of get another perspective on things. But no, that was a really good chat. I learned a lot from you, and I think this is good moving forward, especially because you're way ahead of me in the agency space. I'm a little ahead in terms of personal branding, so it's good for us to connect and people to see that as a
definitely
good conversation.
And I think a lot of people get lost as well. If you watch other YouTubers like your Alex Mosey, your Matthew Larsons, your Iman Ganzi or whatever the fuck his name is, they're way ahead. The problems that they have up here are going to be totally different than the problems you have down here.
I agree.
They've got a little bit of retrospect, but it's the problems that we have down here, I'm still facing. I'm still going through. I've gone through
so true.
A heap of them, but every sort of pill on the way up, you've got a whole different series of problems. And so I'm freshly out of this initial phase, I'd say, and I guess you are a little bit as well. So we can very much relate to these issues because we've just been battling them for the last 6 months, right?
That is so true. Sure, they've gone through it as well, but it's a different game now. It's not so easy to build a brand or do agency stuff. So that is completely true, and a really good point you make actually. And that's why I do like watching a lot of small creators around the 10, 20K subs because they're in it. They're in there. They've got real actionable, valuable advice. So that's really good. I'm excited for what's to come with my channel, your channel, because I know this kind of interview would be split up between the two. So depending on what you're watching it on, if you're watching my channel, go sub to Mac and watch a lot of his.
And if you're on my channel, go sub to Cameron. He'll be in the description as well.
For sure, 100%. Yeah, bro, that's really good. Heaps of valuable content coming out again soon. Get more interviews going.
Yeah, definitely.
Be good to run it back as well soon.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well,
right.
thank you, Mac. Thank you, everyone, for watching. If you made it again, like it's an hour and a half long. If you made it to the end, you're a real one. But it's time. But it's time to get some work done. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it is. It is time to get some work done. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Remember,
Yeah, guys. Cheers.
Go follow Cameron's channel as well.
Sweet.
Sweet.
Oh, that was good. That was real good. I'm good with that.
Yeah.